I see.
See, here's the question I have, and it follows Carrie's question about single-issue candidates. You got involved when it affected your children, but we are looking for trustees who worry about all children in the division. You didn't get involved when the school division was considering closing the English program at New Era, did you?
No, and I am very guilty of that. I was in my own little world. I thought that the school board was doing their job, and I just was not an involved parent. I am guilty of that. But when I went to Harrison and I heard that one parent say that children were soiling themselves because they couldn't go to the bathroom, I wrote a letter to the minister, and I sent it to the minister, I sent it to the school boards, saying that the George Fitton School has to upgrade their bathroom so that won't happen to any child there.
Okay, so just one more follow-up. If the school division had made the decision to close the English program at New Era and leave Harrison alone, would you even be running?
No, but sometimes it takes a life event to change your path, and this was my life event, my aha moment that changed my life. So I'm on a different path now.
Okay, Pat Boslaw?
Well, I was frantic when I heard about the Milieu school coming in, not because of a new program, but because of the haste with which this moved along. I had been a victim of that kind of circumstance when I was a principal in the division and had tried to protect the students in our school. I feel very strongly, and I did speak at that forum and said, be careful what you wish for, because it has to have long-term planning and not be a snap decision overnight, especially when the people in Harrison were displaced, which they had been displaced before in one other circumstance. Thank you.
Glenn Crook.
First off, I want to thank Jim Murray. When I heard about this whole concept and then shutting down New Era School as a neighborhood school, it was from Jim Murray. And in his email to the City of Brandon Poverty Committee, he had an excellent way that the French Milieu program could operate in any school without this huge upheaval that happened. So I commend Jim on that.
There's Kevin Sumner indicated he'd also like.
Yeah, we have Sandra first. Sandra Kogan's.
When I first got involved with this whole French Milieu School was for New Era. I was very glad to see, and I spoke up on that, and I was very glad to see that the board decided not to move the English-speaking students out of New Era School. Subsequently, what happened was then they turned around and picked on my school where my son goes, which is Harrison. So I was involved before that point started. And I've chose to run for board basically because there's still many issues out there with empty seats in some areas, overcrowding, and a number of others. Thank you.
Kevin?
Yes, I'm glad to hear the acknowledgement on part of our incumbent councillors of a poor consultation process. But at the end of the day, it's a process that they moved forward with, despite knowing its flaws, and disenfranchised local residents who did not feel they played a meaningful part in the consultations. Yes, it's important to consult earlier with the community, but also we have to look at how we're consulting. If a board is sitting up at the front of the room, presenting facts as fait accompli to all the residents in the room, there's not a feeling of meaningful consultation. We need small groups, small conversations where residents can express their ideas, opinions, and concerns.
Mark Sefton indicated he'd like an opportunity.
Absolutely. Mark.
Thank you, and thanks for the question, Devrin. You asked the question a moment ago, if this event had not happened, would you still be running for trustee? And I'd like to answer that. My answer would be absolutely yes.
But you see, I don't perceive you as a single-issue candidate.
No, I certainly am not, but I think the whole idea of a single-issue candidate is an important thing to consider, but there are lots of us here who are not that way, and we'd be running regardless.
Right.
That is, I think we should take a halftime break. I think it's been a tough first hour. See some people are doing extremely well under withering fire. I think the City of Brandon, the residents, can feel very confident with this group of 18 they have in front of them. In any event, let's take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Westman covers local stuff? I'm glad someone does.
Actually, we've invested over $1 million in TV equipment for community programming. As well, we've trained over 200 volunteers who broadcast 22,000 hours of local programming and public service announcements each year. It's an important service for Western Manitoba communities that only Westman provides.
Westman. Look to us and see yourself. How are you?
Movie Central's got huge news, Ari.
Get my new partners on the phone.
They're offering 3 months free.
What are we talking about here?
Subscribe to Movie Central before November 30th and get your first 3 months absolutely free.
You'll experience the hottest movies and series, uncut, commercial-free, and free for 3 months. Experience more. Experience Movie Central for 3 months free.
I love you. I love it.
Find the biggest stars and the best movies on Super Channel. Sandra Bullock and Bradley Cooper star in the hilarious comedy All About Steve. And don't miss the quirky love story 500 Days of Summer starring Zooey Deschanel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Plus, Amanda Seyfried and Megan Fox take you on a thrill ride in Jennifer's Body. Exclusive movies only on Super Channel. Call Westman Communications today to subscribe.
Back. We've got the first half under our belt. We're looking forward to a second half. Several of the candidates indicated to me that they're having such a good time tonight, they wish to go well beyond the 9 o'clock hour. Let's do it. I admire their commitment, and I look forward to some, well, maybe we should step up the tough questioning. I'm not sure. In any event, this is, as mentioned earlier, the Brandon School Division Trustee Election Forum, brought to you by the Brandon Sun and Westman Communications. This is being broadcast live throughout the Western Manitoba region. You will also be able to access it tomorrow through various news mediums, including the Brandon Sun, CKLQ. I'm highly confident we'll report on it. And also it'll be available via the internet at brandonsun.com. In any event, let's move on. We're going to go back to our panelists. Please, if you take it away.
And we're going to go back to the future. It's part 2. We dealt a lot about issues in the past 4 years. One of those issues is going to haunt you maybe in the next 4 years. That's the French milieu question. So, Mr. Cameron, you touched on this, and I'd like to expand on that. I would like to know if the new school board will sit down and take a good, hard look and audit existing programs, take a look at new programs, and before they decide that we're going to spend a lot of money on it, are they going to be worth it? So I guess what I'm going to ask is, will there be an audit on the effectiveness of programs that we have now, and when new programs are introduced, is there going to be a 1, 2, or 3 year review to say, let's sit down, audit this program, let's see if we are getting our money's worth, let's see if the students are actually getting anything out of this program. So I'd like to start with Mr. Cameron, then I'd like to ask Mr. Snelling, Mr. Pulak, Ms. Hamilton, and Mr. Bury, please.
Okay, great, thanks, John. Absolutely, I think it's a awesome opportunity to hit the reset button and have candidates look at programs that are working and programs that maybe aren't working as well or aren't getting the student numbers that they need to be successful and to continue. Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. I think it's something that, if elected, I'd love to see the Board of Trustees sit down and further examine that.
Mr. Snelling?
Thank you. I would support that kind of a review, and we do a review every year at budget of all programs and services, and we do a review against our strategic plan to see how we're developing and growing.
Marty, if I can ask then, since you have sat on the board for a while, when you say we do a review at budget time, but yet when budget comes around, we never hear of any budget cuts. So I'm assuming everything is just working fine, but will we be told if programs are actually working and to what benefit they have for the students, rather than just keep the status quo? Because if we cancel a program, somebody might get upset.
If I could, John, actually, maybe to make it easier, can you name for us 3 programs that have been cut during this annual budget period that you've done on a number of occasions?
Not off the top of my head right this second, but I would like to say that we look very carefully at the statistics coming from Adrian Curlew around the supports we've put into early childhood education and how that's affecting growth at grade 3, at grade 7, and high school graduation. And without those supports, we wouldn't be graduating the number of children we are.
Mr. Pulak, please.
I noticed that Mr. Snelling uses the word review, and yet your question referred to audit, which in my mind, in my experience, tends to be a more intensive type examination. Absolutely, I agree. It's worthy of examination. Always, you know, in our workplace, we're always reviewing what we're doing. But what we have to be careful of is that we're not spending so much time looking inside that we forget to look outside. So while I do agree it's worthy of something examining, I think it's something you have to take a closer look as far as implementing.
Ms. Hamilton?
In my job, I work in community, and we have a very a process. We do a needs assessment, we plan, we implement, and then we evaluate. And I think that it should be done in the education field as well. I think we should be spending our money on programs that make the biggest difference, and I don't think all the programs are actually making the biggest difference out there.
Can you name one or two programs?
Yeah, the IB program. I think at a provincial level, the goal is to address increasing graduation rates in students that have not been historically successful. That's low income and Aboriginals, and I think we should focus on that.
Mr. Beery, please.
Yes, I think we should look at our programs and see how successful they are. We should have an audit and drop those programs if we can that are not working properly. I would certainly be opposed to. We do have a mandate to educate all children in the division, and I think the IB program and the AP programs are very important programs. We missed them in Brandon for a number of years. I think in the end they're not costing us a lot of money and they're getting us a lot of gain. But yes, I do agree that we need course audits and program audits, and I know we do this in our schools. I can't name courses, but we have dropped courses at Crocus Plains because they were no longer.
Mr. Burry, if I may, and I'm sure you've heard this expression, pet programs. We've heard it in the media, and I'm sure as a trustee, come budget time, someone always says, this program won't be cut because it's someone's pet project. There might only be 40 or 50 students involved. Are we getting cost effectiveness? Are the students getting anything out of this?
I can't recall that we have any pet programs like that right now. I know when we didn't have the IB program and I was going all over the country and all over the province representing Brandon School Division, it was an embarrassment almost that our division didn't have that program that other divisions had and was offering, and I'm very pleased we have it now.
Pat, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did, thanks. I sense a knee-jerk reaction coming here with the trustees that are elected think that they have to go searching to cut programs hither, skither, and yon without due process, thinking it through. And without belaboring a little lesson, I'm really concerned about the philosophy of the multiple intelligence theory by Howard Gardner, which identifies 8 different intelligences that children have. And at the present time, I note that we have many programs in place that do address these children's needs so that when they leave...
Thank you, Pat. I'm afraid we're out of time. Sorry. Linda, you wanted to ask? Answer? Sorry.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I wanted to point out, first of all, that we are one of the most data-driven divisions in the province, and that fact is well recognized by the province. We collect more data than any other school division. So we are not perfect, but we are doing a lot in terms of monitoring our programs to see if they are effective. I can name 3 programs off the top of my head that we did cut. We tried to cut Eco Odyssey, and you know what kind of foo-for-ah that created. We temporarily cut the Gifted and Talented program because it was getting a lot of bad press, but it came back.
Okay, I'm sorry, Linda, you're out of time.